Well, Minnesota's out the playoffs. What's good with y'all? Welcome. I'm not a Minnesota Timberwolves fan. I did go to a game. Love their team for like 2 years now. But they lost. The Dallas Mavericks are officially in the NBA Finals. I want to give Dallas a ton of credit. They played great defense all the way through. Luka is generational against the best defense in the NBA. He played the best compared to any star this whole season long. So shout out to him. But it's over, man. It's over. There's a lot of questions Minnesota's gonna have to go through in terms of what they need to do to improve the roster. Karl-Anthony Towns, like there's things there. But before we get to that, give Dallas credit. This Dallas Mavericks team is a team that a lot of y'all counted out. I definitely counted them out. And they shut everybody up. First off, we got to give NBA teams credit for picks, draft picks, drafting players in the right position. Dallas, this entire season, before any ball was played in the preseason, I was saying I'm not sure of where Dallas ranks. People could sell me on being the 5th best team in the West, the 6th team, because we didn't know what their front court was going to be. Derek Lively was a rookie. And y'all know how it goes, man. In the NBA, when you have a rookie player that has to come in and rim protect at a high level, move the floor at a high level, like we didn't understand what Derek Lively was going to be. I didn't think he was going to be as good as he was his rookie year. And that's why I'll say that in terms of value, for Dallas to have tanked the games they tanked at the end of last season to keep their pick and get Lively, to me, that changed their entire season. Derek Lively was so good and so valuable that he was able to help floor raise that team defensively a lot. And then when they made the trades, which is another part, and they got more pieces with Lively, it transformed this entire Dallas team. So I want to give Dallas a ton of credit for that. Now, to the actual trade deadline acquisitions, I said on a video, it might be linked at the end of this video, but I literally said Dallas won the trade deadline. To me, getting Gafford as another shot blocker with PJ who could knock down some threes here or there, play some occasional wing defense, I just felt like physically it made their team a lot more athletic and a lot more versatile, especially with DJJ, who was a, overall offseason ad, right? So for me, this Dallas team was in a good position. Like they finally put wings and athletic guys next to Luka, who we all know how good of a talent Luka is. He's a generational talent. So the fact that you actually put athletes around him with Kyrie Irving is why the team was able to make the playoffs this year. But again, I cannot say it enough. Dallas is a team that did not settle. They could have been content. They could have stayed pat. But the fact that they drafted well, then they made trades on top of it, which a lot of people for some reason thought that Dallas had given up too much and the trades weren't that great. These trades got them to the NBA Finals. Everything Dallas did this season in terms of trading Grant Williams, bringing everybody in, it got them to the NBA Finals. We can say that. And I understand, right? In the first round, the Clippers were not fully healthy. Fine. You still have to play who's in front of you. Dallas did that. Oklahoma City, the number 1 seed, the entire year long was a better roster than Dallas. OKC lost to this Dallas team because of their athleticism, because of their spots where their bigs filled in perfectly with Kyrie and Luka. And Kyrie didn't even have a great overall series, and neither did Luka. But the team as a whole kept them in it. It did. So knowing that and seeing how impactful these guys were in that series. I mean, PJ Washington, literally, what he did in that series is why they got past OKC. If PJ does not shoot 48% from 3 on 8 attempts, that team is not going to a Western Conference Finals. It's not happening. And then your stars redeem themselves from the OKC series by balling out against the best defense in the NBA in the Wolves. So shout out to him. I'll be having a finals preview video dropping in the next couple of days. I've been tired, so I haven't been uploading for every game of the series and whatnot, but I'm not gonna lie, you see the shirt. For many like months now, I've been saying Minnesota is a good basketball team. And it's not that I'm a Minnesota fan. I'm a Rudy Gobert fan. I'll be honest about that. I am. But this Minnesota team is a team that a lot of people did not think was going to make the playoffs. A lot of people said that the Gobert trade was one of the worst trades they'd ever seen. And I kept saying, listen, that was year one of Gobert. Karl-Anthony Towns was injured. He was hurt. He was out of the equation. For year two, I think Rudy Gobert is going to have a ton of value. I think he's going to probably be the defensive player of the year. They're going to win a lot of regular season games. And then we have to see what they do in the playoffs. I said that word for word in my offseason video predicting the future of this team. And for the entire regular season, they did that. From the start of the season to the end of the season, they were the #1 defense in the NBA. They kept that consistent. They were a lot better. Arguably, if Cat doesn't go down during the regular season, they might have even been the #1 seed. That's how razor sharp the margins were between Minnesota, Oklahoma City, and Denver. That's what it was. So the fact that they did all that was great during the regular season. But then you get to the playoffs where a lot of people have all these narratives about Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns. Like, are they going to be good enough? People legitimately, because of the regular season matchup, we're picking the Phoenix Suns to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I said all season long, they are a better team than the Phoenix Suns. They are. And when they got in the series, they made the adjustments. They stayed home on the shooters. Rudy Gobert had the series of his life, phenomenal defense, switched out on the perimeter, played well, played really well. And obviously Anthony Edwards, star, right? Like on his way to superstardom in a couple years. For him to be 22 years old and have played the way he did for the overall run again, you do got to give him a ton of credit. You have to. But they sweep the Phoenix Suns, a team that people at the beginning of the season regarded as a legitimate super team, as probably a top 3 team in the Western Conference. They got swept by the Minnesota Timberwolves, a team that a lot of people just flat out didn't respect. They beat them. And a lot of the narrative was, well, they have Kevin Durant, they have Booker, they have all of these like high-level shooters and all this and all that. Like, how is Gobert going to guard his space? Gobert's defensive value showed up in that series. But then, unfortunately, after they beat them, it gets lost in the Denver series, which was a series that a lot of people just flat out picked Denver because obviously Denver was a dominant force last year. For the entire regular season, they were a very good regular season team. A lot of people had them coming out of the West to play Boston in the finals as a preseason pick. I did as well, but that was because I didn't know what the matchups was going to be. The minute I saw Timberwolves versus Nuggets, I literally said, I'm taking the Wolves because I think the Wolves are the overall better team because they're so matched up well to play Denver and take away their strengths from Denver. And 4 out of the 7 games in the series, Minnesota held Denver under 100 points. They did not score over 100 points in 4 of the games. A Rudy Gobert-led defense versus a Nikola Jokic-led offense. That was the matchup. And they go up 2-0, which was very surprising to a lot of people. Again, I did not have Minnesota beating them in the first 2 games back-to-back like that. I had like a split. They did that. Then they come back home and they lose 2 straight games at home. So now it's like, damn, like, is this team legit? I still feel like they were because, again, in the series, until the end where, like, the numbers make it look worse, all the games were pretty much close. And then Denver wins the 3rd straight game. So now they're down 3-2. And what does Minnesota do? They lock in. They come home for game 6, blow the doors off of Denver. And then game 7, everything about the Wolves they needed comes through. Anthony Edwards shoots 6 for 24, y'all. Not great, right? The passes were cool, all that. But Minnesota won that series as a team. Karl-Anthony Towns, while he had some dark spots throughout the series, came up for his biggest, career game to me in game 7, where he played phenomenally well, where he was a great offensive piece. The Wolves were down 20 points in the 3rd quarter, and they come back to go on a crazy run to beat the Denver Nuggets on the road. So Minnesota deserves a lot of credit, but we got to be honest about a lot of things. And again, I'll be covering some more of these things in the next preview video. But the fact that they were able to beat Denver the way that they did, and then you get in a series against the Dallas Mavericks and you lose in 5 games, it's very sad for the Wolves because a lot of the games that they lost were very, very close. The last game wasn't competitive. I'm not going to really spend too much time on Game 5. Game 5, Luka and Kyrie said we're going to the finals. That's what it was. The entire Dallas Mavericks team just hit timely shot after timely shot. They had possession where they either scored or got fouled for like a very long time, and they were up 30 at halftime. I'm not going to focus too much on the game. But for the series, it's like Luka was just a generational offensive player. The drop was getting exploited a lot during the series. Sometimes it worked well, sometimes it did not. Jaden McDaniels, as good of a defender as he is, Luka basically abused him by putting him in jail every time to where he's on his back, and then Gobert's having to navigate a 2v1. And because of the athleticism, they were able to score easy points between their two bigs front court, which again, if you don't make those marginal moves to get those guys, they're not even in position to really compete with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I was wrong. Okay, so Dallas, because every game came down to the wire, Dallas was the better closing team. And that's not a crazy thing because during the regular season, that's what they were too. But the extra margins, like the rebounding, the offensive rebounding, the, blocks and all that, the Dallas Mavericks outperformed them or tied them in those categories. And because of that, the overall margins were closer than I thought they would be in some of those areas. So again, I give Dallas credit. Okay, I do. In terms of what the Wolves do, me personally, I said this before the season, you do have to look at what other options are going to be there in place of Cat. I don't think Cat is as bad of a player as people paint him out to be, but ultimately he's going to be making a lot of money. You're going to be locked into that heavy salary. So if there's a way to consolidate him as a piece to make the team better, you do it. But if not, don't force it. People have been saying like Naz Reid can be the full-time replacement. No, he cannot. Naz Reid is a great player, but I think a lot of his value comes from being in a spot where you can come off the bench and contribute at a high level, right? And be Cat insurance. To me, trading Karl-Anthony Towns has to make you a better team to justify it. He's not untouchable. But you got to evaluate this roster. Again, you made it to a Western Conference Finals where to me, it wasn't some random fluke run against teams that were not healthy. You dominated the Phoenix Suns, a team that a lot of people thought was going to be a powerhouse team of the Western Conference. You then went on to beat the defending champions in a 7-game series where you went down 3-2. You lost three straight games in the series, came back to win the series with the NBA record deficit in a Game 7. And then at the same time, you go to the Western Conference Finals. Now you get, dominated by Dallas. But even in that series, there were a lot of close possessions. So if you're Minnesota, I just say you evaluate the roster. You see what you can do to improve. If the Cat trade is there, then do it. But don't force it. It's fine to bring this team back, build around the margins, and have time. Because the one thing I hate about the NBA is a lot of people have this thinking that if we don't win a championship automatically, we have to blow it up. And that's not how winning works. If you go to all the previous winners, right? All of them, they have a sense of chemistry and continuity together. They played together for a very, very long time. Denver, Raptors, Golden State, the Bucks, right? Like there's a sense of a system that was in place for multiple years for players to adjust to. And then with significant adds, that adds onto that blueprint, they win. So to me, it like you can't sour on yourself because you went this far, but at the same time, you cannot take the success of this year and think every year is going to be like that. It's the Western Conference. Every year the West gets better. Next year, Memphis is going to be back as a great team in the Western Conference. There's a lot of shakeup that will be coming, but just don't overreact either. It's a happy balance. But yeah, man, overall, that's my thought on the series. I gotta go to work, so I'm gonna head out. I'm not editing any of this video because I'm very, very tired right now for the time of me recording it. But that's my ramble, man. Peace out. Y'all have a good one. Appreciate basketball. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you. Peace out.